There comes a point where things have been bubbling away in the psyche, and all of a sudden it feels as if it wants to be born, if you see what I mean. And I've always been interested in Revelation as a text from the New Testament, because it's so full of drama, and it's unlike anything else in the New Testament, really, in the Bible. You've got dragons, you've got beast of the sea with 7 heads and 10 horns. I mean, and all that kind of great sense of power and mystery and almost evil. And at the other extreme is the text, worthy is the Lamb who was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and might and honour and glory and blessing. I mean, that is so soft and beautiful. So with this album, I've been thinking for years that ought to be set to music. At one point, we even thought of making it into an opera. I say we, me and my brother Andrew, who writes my words. He's a priest in Lincolnshire. But the other thing about this is all the events conspire to make an album work. It isn't just the inspiration. Andy, my manager, has a new lady working with her called Claire, who's marvellous. She works with the King Singers and Eric Whittaker, and she's right at the forefront of things. And she's felt for a long time that my music ought to find its way into America. So she was talking to people over there, and she felt we needed a new sort of project. And I immediately thought, this is my chance now for Revelation. So it's going to be published in America. It's going to be released on the Naxos label. And for the first time for me, a transatlantic project. So it's going to be released on the 10th of February, which is Friday.
How does that feel?
Wonderful. It feels humbling, but in a way, sorry, this sounds big-headed, Anthony, but it feels right as well, because I feel I do have a voice, and I do feel I've been given a gift. I suppose it's like a parent. If you have a child, you want it to do well, you believe in it, and you want to show it off, don't you?
Well, I think we forget so much in the pop music world. It used to be the thing you wanted to break America. That doesn't just sit in that particular genre of music. People want to break into new areas, and America is the biggie in pop, and it must be the biggie in classical music, yes, and spiritual music as well.
Well, particularly the spiritual side, you're quite right. The choral scene in America, I mean, it's big over here, but it's huge over there. So we're actually going out to Minneapolis to the choral convention, at which are going to be tens of thousands of choral conductors in March, and I'm going to launch the album over there, and I'm going to have a meet and greet, the composer session, and the choral directors are going to try through a couple of the tracks. But yes, you see, in America, in every single village there's a choir, in every single town was about 3, in every single academy was about 4. So there's such a demand for this kind of thing, and I just have a feeling, in a way, they're going to understand my style better than the British, probably, because it is very direct, my style. And the Americans like that. They're not afraid of an artist or a composer, writer, wearing their heart on their sleeve, are they?
Because you know where you are. You're very much anchored in your music, aren't you?
Yes, and in my faith, my Christian faith. And so in a project like this, where I'm taking texts from the Bible, everything seems to come together and crystallise. And I believe in it 100%.
You mentioned about Worthy is the Lamb, which is one of the pieces. The one part of it that I picked up on is that discordant sound. Occasionally in it, the music goes 1, 2, 5, 3.
Well, we were talking about this, weren't we, just now?
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
And deliberately, doesn't it? You do twist the music to slightly change its shape.
Yes, and that's not necessarily... Yes, you're right, that does happen. And a few other people have commented on it with this album, that I kind of... My language has kind of expanded a bit and goes in slightly different directions at times when you don't expect it. And that's partly, of course, because I'm developing as a composer and a musician all the time. It's partly because the text demands it for me. It's such a powerful text. It can't be humdrum. It can be simple and beautiful, but it's all the time got to be searching for those extra nuance and colours within the text and the spirituality. And also, as a composer, I think it's very important to keep music afloat. It's the opposite of the music sinking. It becomes too repetitive and maybe the listener just loses interest, concentration. But if you introduce these little turns that you're talking about, these little moments, tinges of, oh, what was that? I didn't expect that. It helps to keep the music afloat. And for me, that's a great thing because I think it makes the music better in the long run.
And actually, that keeps in with Revelations.
You're absolutely right. It does indeed. You don't know what's round the corner with that text. I'm sure subconsciously that is one of the reasons that the music's doing this. It's slightly unsettled, wanting to settle, and every so often does settle. One of the movements is from the throne came flashes of lightning, thunder, and that's very, very dramatic. And in the same text within that one piece, 7 lamps were blazing. I mean, what's going on here? This is, you're kind of drawn into it. So it's all the things that you say. The spoken word in the church isn't always effective as it used to be, I don't think. I think it's great to combine it with another art form. And so I would like to think that the music takes the text and enhances it and colours it in, like a colouring book.
When it comes to the recording, how fussy a parent are you sitting behind the mixing desk or in front of the artists?
That's a great question again. I mean, very fussy. Of course I am. But I've had to learn to become less fussy and to let go. Again, I'm not a parent, but I know with my own parents there came a point where they had to let me go. On this occasion, I didn't conduct. If I conduct, then I'm very, very fussy. And actually, sometimes I think it's good I conduct, and other times I think it's good to let go at that point. And with this album, we went over to Toronto to hear the recording, because it's recorded again, because of the American connection, it's recorded by one of the best choirs in North America, the Elora Singers, conducted by Noel Edison. And within 10 seconds of hearing them sing, I knew I was in safe hands. And actually, it's the only time I think I've ever had somebody else conduct my music, which can be agony. It's the only time I've just sat back and just let it happen and thought, wow. And then, because we heard the final 2 rehearsals before the premiere, this was in July, through the premiere, I was just able to totally let go and hear my music come alive. And that's a new experience for me. So it's interesting you asked that, because I think with this project, allowing somebody else to take the reins, and this is what I was saying, I think there's something about the North Americans who understand this more. We're just a bit, well, we all know about the English reserve, but we're a bit, how can I say it? This is important, I think, for people to listen to this. I think we are not ashamed of our faith, though in certain quarters, and I'm talking about Christian faith, we do need to embrace it more. And we're not good at living it or being... It's like Trump, for all his faults, he said, God bless America. And at one point he said in his inaugural speech, the most important person in all this is God. When would you ever hear a British Prime Minister say that, even if they felt it? So there's something about the approach of the North Americans, which I experienced in my music, which has taken it to a whole new level. I think it's important, certainly as a creative artist, never to think you know everything. Gosh, once you do that, you're doomed to failure, I think. In fact, no, it isn't a worry to me or a concern. It's an absolute joy to think that as long as I live and I'm able to work, I'm going to grow richer and richer rather than poorer and poorer.